Okay, guys, tell me what you understand when we say the term inheritance. Guys, tell me.
uh,
Suppose
get properties of a parent to a child or from one class to the other class.
Yeah. See, now let's learn how many types of inheritance are there. Okay. When I say this is the parent class and this is the child class. So what is inheritance? Inheritance is basically inheriting all the properties of the parent class to the child class. That is called inheritance in Java. Means every data member and functions present in the parent class will be automatically a member of child class. If a child class inherit a parent class, automatically all the data members and all the function of the parent class will be the members of the child class. Now there are different type of inheritance. Okay, so this kind of inheritance, when a single class inherit a single parent, then this is called single inheritance. Okay, this particular inheritance is called single inheritance. Then we have one inheritance that is called multi-level inheritance. So what is multi-level inheritance? See, this is single inheritance. This is multi-level inheritance. And there is another type of inheritance. This is called multiple inheritance. Okay. Now see, in single inheritance, a single class inherit a, this is A is the parent class of B. So this is single inheritance. Only one class is involved in inheriting another class. Now this is multi-level inheritance in which B inherits A and C inherits B. That means B has all the data members and functions of A, C has all the data members and function of B as well as A. So here it is called multi-level inheritance. And what is this? This is multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance means a single class have two parents, A and B. It inherits the data member and function of A as well as of B. But in Java, this is not permitted. Multiple inheritance in Java is not permitted. Okay, it is permitted in Python, it is permitted in Python language, but in Java it is not permitted. Why? The reason Java is designed for not permitting multiple inheritance is, let's say this class A has a function add and class B has a function add. So if C inherit both A and B, so it will get confused whose add function it will call. if I will call the add function using the variable of C, using the object of C. You're getting my point, guys?
Yes, Pratik.
Okay. So multiple inheritance is not permitted in Java by using class, although we can do it using interface. Okay. This is the bookish theory, or this is the theoretical concept of Java, but I will show you some exception where Java permits multiple inheritance using its predefined classes. Using our user defined classes, we cannot perform multiple inheritance, but there are some instances I will show you it permits multiple inheritance using its predefined classes, but that you will never find in any book or in any theory, because according to theory Java doesn't support multiple inheritance. But there is a tricky interview question, some tricky interviewer may ask you, because Java supports multiple inheritance using its predefined classes. I'll show you that in the string class when we'll read it. Okay, so for now you understand Java supports single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, but it doesn't support it supports single inheritance, it supports multi-level inheritance, but it doesn't support multiple inheritance. But that can be done using interface. Okay, interface is a whole new concept we'll be learning. So let's start with single inheritance. Everyone got this concept?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyone tell me why multiple inheritance is not permitted in Java?
Because the child class will get confused which characteristics to access if there are duplicates, if there are
Yeah,
similarities
good.
in both the class.
Okay, right. Okay, let's start with our. Okay, what is this source? Okay, I'm creating a new package. Okay, we'll see here. New package. This is inheritance one. Finish. Add one more package. Now say here I have a data member int a. Okay, now b, if I write class b extends a, that means I say that class b is the child class of class a. That means class b is inheriting class a. Okay, so extend keyword is used for inheritance. Now, as class B has inherited class A, that means this particular variable A, that means this data member A is also present in B by default, right? So let's say, for example, I'm trying to access CISO. I have to create an object to access it. Uh, See here, although A is not present, I am able to access A. Why? Because A is present in the parent class, and as B has inherited the parent class, so it automatically have A inside it. Okay, all the data member and function which are present in the you can say parent class is automatically present in the child class. So if I'll run it also, see 9, it gave me 9. That means it is present here. Okay. Okay. So here I'm int b is equal to 10. But the vice versa is not true. This int b will not be present inside class A. Okay, understand it. All the data members and function of parent class is present in child class, but child class members are not present in parent class. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Any doubt? Anyone?
No, it's clear.
Okay. Now there comes. Now see here also you'll see. I can create a function public void add. See, so I have add function of class A. Let me see an instance when the same data member or same function is present inside the parent class and also in the child class. Now also you may that may come into your mind, like it will create a confusion if both the same function are present in parent class and the child class. If I will call, then which function will be called? Okay, let's see now. Let's say, for example, only add function is now only present in the parent class. Now if I will call add function obj.add, so we can say like it will be calling the parent class add function because no more add function is there. Okay, see, I have the function of class A. That means this particular class A function has been called and the lines which are there and they are executed. But let's say, for example, I just define a add function, similar add function inside the child class also. So what will happen? Class B. Can anyone tell me now what will be the output? Just try. Anyone? See,
Add function
yeah.
of B.
Sorry.
Add function of B will be invoked.
Yeah. See, so the output will be 9. I am add function of class B. See, run as. See, 9, I am add function of class B. That means what you understood is if similar function is present in its own class, then that will be invoked. That will be given preference rather than the parent class. If that is not found in its own class, then it will search it for in the parent class and that will be invoked. Okay, always it will search the same inside its own. If it is not present inside its own, then it will go to its parent. Okay. This particular concept is called function overriding. The same signature function is present in the parent class and the child class. This is called function overriding, and we have earlier learned function overloading. These both concept under the concept of polymorphism of Java. Polymorphism means one name, different function. So there you have saw you have the function with the same name, but there was a difference in the number and type of argument. So that was called function overloading, and that was done in a single class only. But this is function overloading. Same name function, same signature function are present in both parent class and child class. Okay, so this is called function overriding, and this function overriding is known as dynamic polymorphism. Why dynamic? Because in runtime it is decided which method I have to invoke, but function overloading is a static polymorphism, because in the compile time while writing the code only Java decide which function will be invoked. So that is called static polymorphism. Okay, and this is called dynamic polymorphism, or you can say that one is called compile time polymorphism, this is called runtime polymorphism. These all are interview question, guys. Just remember, they will just ask you what is runtime polymorphism, what is static polymorphism, what is compile time polymorphism, what is dynamic polymorphism. So just remember, function overloading is static polymorphism, that is compile time polymorphism. Function overriding is dynamic polymorphism, that is sorry, function overloading is static polymorphism, and that is compile time polymorphism, and function overriding is dynamic polymorphism, and that is runtime polymorphism. Okay, so this is
Yes.
one concept. Yeah, ask.
No. Yeah, clear, clear. That's fine.
Okay, now see, we we have now till now we have learned that a object of the same class can store the instance of same class. Like here I'm creating the object of B class, it is storing the instance of B class. But in inheritance there is a concept in which the parent class object can store the instance of child class, but the vice versa is not true. Okay, we'll see now. That is called upcasting. And if a child class stores the instance of parent class, that is called downcasting, but that is not permitted in Java. Only upcasting is permitted. Let's see. Let's say, for example, here also I have a. Okay, a is equal to 9 is there. Let's say here I have I is equal to 8. Okay, in both parent and child, that is the variable a. Now, here if I will call now obj.a, now what will be the output? Tell me, guys. I want to answer now.
8.
Only 8. How? Give me the total output.
Okay, 8, and I am function of class B.
Right. Good. So now, but let's say, for example, what I told, if I create a object of parent class and store the instance of child class, it is permitted in Java. You can store the instance of a child class in the object of a parent class. Okay. Now let's see what happens. Now if I call A, what will be called? Okay. Here I have called using the object of child class. Here I am using the object of parent class, but both have the instance of child class only. Here also I have new B, here also I have new B, but only difference is here the object of parent class is there, here the object of child class is there. As in Java inheritance, it allows us to store the instance of a child class in the object of a parent class. Now let's see, if I call A using that object, what happens? See, although A is there, although A is present, it should have called 8. But what we saw that it will search for the nearest one. Okay. But you see, if I create the object of the parent class, although I store the instance of the child class, it will call its own A. It will not call the A of the child class. Guys, got it? This is very important concept from interview
Yeah.
point of view. Each and every concept I will tell today is very important from interview point of view. See, but using the particular object of that parent class which I have created, I cannot call the members of the child class. I can only call the member of the parent class. Okay, got my point? So this particular concept in which I can store an instance of child class in the parent class is called upcasting. Okay, and what will be downcasting? Downcasting will be obj2 in the object of child class. I'll be storing the instance of parent class. This will be downcasting, but that particular concept is not permitted in Java. Only upcasting is permitted. Okay. Got got the concept, guys? Very important concept.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now let's see what happens. Okay, now see. B is inheriting A. Okay, this is a example of what? Single inheritance, right? This is an example of what? Single inheritance, what I've told now.
Correct.
Now let's see multiple inheritance. So now we have inherited A. If C inherited B, though that is multi-level inheritance, extends B. So that is
Correct.
multi-level inheritance. But let's see it. Do it permit me multiple inheritance? No, multiple inheritance is not permitted. I cannot do multiple inheritance in Java. Okay, but still we will be seeing multiple inheritance is permitted in our string class, how it is permitted. Okay, so by using user method, I'll say, to be very specific, I'll say by using the user method, but in interview don't say this. You interview say that multiple inheritance is not permitted in Java because everywhere it's written that thing only. So, but to be specific, what actually happens is using user defined classes, you cannot perform multiple inheritance. But I will show you using the predefined classes, you are doing multiple inheritance. Okay. But don't go with that answer. You go with the answer that multiple inheritance is not allowed because it's written everywhere. Now you saw multiple inheritance is not allowed. Okay. Now you got it cleared? Like what are the type of inheritance and what are allowed in Java and what are not?
Yes. Yes, Pratik.
Okay, good. Now let's go with another type of class that is called abstract class. So what is an abstract class? Can anyone tell me? Anyone try? What do you understand by the word abstract? Tell me in normal English.
Taking out some extract of a particular thing,
Taking out?
some abstraction,
Sorry, I didn't
and
get you.
yeah, possessing inherit, like possessing the characteristic, okay, but demonstrating it in a bit different way, like for the user. I'm not sure if it is
Okay,
correct.
okay, okay. Now see, I have a class P, okay, which is an abstract class. So what is an abstract class? A abstract class is that class in which you can create an abstract method. So what is an abstract method? Abstract method is that method in which you have only the signature of that function or the method. You don't have the body of that method. See here, I have created a check function, but I don't have the body of that function. Only I have the signature of that function. Okay. So you can say abstract class is that class in which we can define abstract method. And now what is abstract method? Abstract method are those methods which have only the signature. It doesn't have the definition. Okay. It doesn't possess the definition of that function. It only have the signature of that function. Got my point, guys?
Yes, 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 Pratikya.
Okay.
So,
So
and then where do we define? We don't define at all this function, abstract function.
no, you will define. I'll show you. Now see, let's say E inherits that abstract class D. See, there will be an error showing us. Why? Just hover over it. Add unimplemented methods. That means whichever class inherits that abstract class needs to define the abstract methods inside the class. Got my point? If E extend D, unless it define the abstract methods present in the abstract parent class, it will throw me an error. See, public void check, I have to mandatorily give a body in the child class. Got my point? What is the use of that abstract method?
Yeah.
Can you please come again, Pratik? Sorry.
Yeah. See, in abstract class, I can have abstract method, but the child class which inherit that abstract class have to mandatorily define that abstract method. See, earlier what was happening? If in A I have void hard, even though if I don't define void hard here, that is not an error for me. Okay. Even though it parent class has art function, I don't define it in the child class, it is not an error for me. It is okay. Even though I can define, even I cannot define, it's up to me. But what happened here? As I have the abstract method here, that I have to mandatorily define in the child class, which is inheriting the parent class. Got my point?
Yeah.
Still have doubt? Someone
Sir,
who was
I
asking?
have doubt.
Yeah,
Can you explain again this?
see, let's see in class A and class B. In class A, I have a function void art. Okay, public void art. Just go this way. In class A, this is a normal class, and I have a function public void art. And class B inherits class A. Even though I don't define this particular function, it is okay. It is not an error. Okay, it's okay. It's not an error. But now see, D is an abstract class, and it has an abstract method which don't have a body. And this E inherits this class D. So if I don't define that particular function, abstract function which is present in this class D, Java will throw me an error because it will direct me to mandatorily implement all the abstract method present in the abstract class. Once I implement it, see, error is gone. Means I'm giving a body to the abstract method which is present in class D. This particular abstract method. Now clear?
Yes, yes, Pratik, it's clear now. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, one more interview question. Can we create an object of abstract class? No, we can never create an object of abstract class. See, here I'm trying to create an object of abstract class inside itself only, it is not permitting. We can never create a instance or object of a abstract class. This is the interview question, remember it. You see, here error is thrown while I'm creating an object of abstract class. Now, can a abstract class can, can an abstract class have only abstract method, or can it have the normal non-abstract method? Let's see. Let's define another method. Public void add See, an abstract class can have both abstract method and also non-abstract method. Now, when you go to E, I haven't redefined that add method. Then also it's okay. Why? Because only abstract method I have to mandatorily redefine. It's optional if we redefine the non-abstract method or not. It's up to us, like the earlier cases. Only the abstract method needs to be redefined mandatorily in the child class. Non-abstract method is up to you. You define it or you don't define it. It's up to you. Got my point? So this is also an interview question. Can abstract class have non-abstract method? Yes. Abstract class can have both abstract and non-abstract methods. Guys, got it? Everyone, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone ask what you were asking? Now come interface. Till now we are seeing only classes. Now let's go to interface. People find it very difficult, all these concepts, but it's too easy. If you understand it, this concept are too easy, but people say, yeah, it's this concept are very difficult. Okay, so what is interface? Tell me in normal English. Anyone? Okay, Now see. So what is the interface? Interface is similar to abstract class. But then what is the difference? That may arise a question. Then what is the use of interface and abstract class? They both do the same way. The main, this is an interview question, remember guys. This is a very important interview question every interviewer will ask. What is the difference between interface and abstract class? Both look similar. Both look similar, right? But there is a difference. See, the main difference is in interface you can declare only abstract method. You cannot declare non-abstract method. See here I have declared non-abstract method. It is throwing me an error. I can have only abstract method in interface. I cannot have non-abstract method in interface. Only abstract method are allowed in interface. If you declare a non-abstract method, it will be an error. But in abstract class, you can declare both abstract method and non-abstract method. Both are allowed. Okay, this is the major difference. And the second difference is okay. And the second difference is new class. If a class can extend or it can inherit one or more interface, that means multiple inheritance is allowed in interface, but a class can inherit only one abstract class. It cannot inherit multiple abstract class. So this is the second difference. Remember it guys, major differences, that is very important from interview point of view.
Pratik, can you please repeat the second one?
Second one is multiple inheritance is allowed through interface, but multiple inheritance cannot be achieved through abstract class.
Okay.
And to inherit interface, I use the word implements. So what are my interface? One is interface 1. Another is interface 2. See, here I am able to inherit two interface. That means multiple inheritance. Okay, you need to just add on method. Okay, as both are abstract method, as we saw in the abstract class, both abstract method I need to redefine in the child class. Okay, see here multiple inheritance are permitted. Working support type intervention. Okay, got my point, guys. Here
Yeah,
multiple in, yeah. Tell me.
we cannot have multiple inheritance implemented extent, but we can have multiple interface in a class. Sorry.
Wrong statement. We cannot have multiple inheritance using abstract class because it is a normal class only. What means it is a sub type of class only. So as we know,
Hmm,
using a class we cannot have multiple inheritance, but using interface I
correct.
can have multiple inheritance. Okay.
Hmm.
So two difference you got.
Yeah, first is like we can use only abstract classes, right? We cannot use sorry, abstract method. And second is that, can you please help again?
Sorry, what you told?
The first difference is that we can have only abstract method, and second is that we have the facility to have multiple interface accessibility.
Multiple inheritance, not interface.
Oh
Multiple
yes, sorry.
multiple inheritance using
Inheritance.
interface. Yeah.
So can you show again how you implemented this using the keyword implement multiple inheritance?
Here I've used the word implements, and I have defined both inheritance. Both interface which I need to inherit.
So first when you get yeah,
Interface
first when
one.
you gave that
So interface
yeah, first when
implement
you gave
interface
that
one.
interface
Hmm.
yeah, first when you gave that interface on interface 2, it throws an error over there.
Yeah,
So
it's
and
throws that's different. That's different. Just forget it. If I remove it, then it's okay. Leave it.
okay.
That's no error. Still, so that's not an issue. Okay. Okay, now it's gone. Leave it. So you saw multiple inheritance is allowed to me in using using interface. Okay. Now see, here I have void goal. Here also I have void goal. But in the case of interface, it is not getting confused. Why? Tell me. Just common sense. In the case of class, it was getting confused, but in the case of interface, it did not get confused. Why? Because here only I'm giving the signature. There is no definition. Okay, and the definition which will be invoked, it will from its own class only. So even though both interface have the same function signature, that need not make any difference, because when I'll call this goal function, it will call this goal function only. So multiple inheritance is acceptable using interface because there will be no confusion. Only signature are present, no definition are present. So if it inherit the interface, it have to define it inside itself, and that definition will be invoked, which is defined in itself only. So even though all the interface have the same method, it is not an issue for the class. So you understood why multiple inheritance using interface is allowed?
Yes,
Guys,
because
Yeah.
it's just
Yes,
in
sir.
own in own it.
so you got two differences now, and one other difference is there are three differences. Okay, now I'll tell you the third difference. See, so you see here what happened is I'm trying to print A as it has inherited the interface, so it will print the A of A which is present here in interface 1. Okay, so it's 1 to 2. Okay, run as Java application 1 to 2. But if I'll try to change the value, see, it is throwing me an error. But in the case of abstract class, if I have a here also I have one A in this abstract class, and E have inherited this abstract class. Let's say for example, here also I'm trying to change the value of that particular variable. See, here in after class I have a variable int a is equal to 12, and in E, which is a child class, I'm trying to change the value. Is completely okay, no issues. But see here, interface has a variable with some value, and I'm trying to change the value inside its child class. It is throwing me an error. So in Java, if you have a final data member, its value cannot be changed. We'll learn about final. Final is the keyword. When it is used with a data member, that value can never be changed. So in interface, whichever variable we declare are final by default. You can never change its value anywhere else in the program. It is by default final. But in case of abstract class, it is according to the modifier we give it. We'll learn about the access modifier. Okay, so there are 4 access modifier. So if we declare it final, then it will be final, else it is normal, public, or default, or protected. But in interface, the data members are by default final. You can never change it. You cannot give any access modifier. It is by default final. So you can never change the value of that, you can say, variable elsewhere in the program. But in the case of after class, if you declare it final, then it will be final, else it will be normal one. You can change its value. Got my point? The third difference?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is a mandatory question in every interview. Give me the difference between interface and abstract class. I'm telling you from now. Okay. Now, let's learn about final keyword. So what is final keyword? What do you understand by final in normal English?
This is the last thing. We cannot change anything after it.
Right. Finals mean the last. Okay. In normal Java class only, in D, if I declare this as final int A12, inside the same class only, I cannot change its value. That means what happened? Oh, sorry, it's abstract class. Leave it. I cannot instantiate abstract class, right? In A, say for example, in A, I declare this particular as final. See, here is throwing me an error because I have declared A as final. So I cannot change its value elsewhere. It's permanently 9 forever. It cannot be changed elsewhere in the program. But if I just remove the final keyword, you see I am able to change its value.
Yes.
So see, that was the interview question. Now this is the interview question. Tell me the use of final keyword in Java class. The first use we saw it using what? In variable. In while creating a variable, if I define a variable as final, I cannot change its value elsewhere in the program. It is constant. Its value can never be changed elsewhere. This is while using for a what? Variable. Just keep your mind. These are all interview questions. Now see, if I make a function final, now I made a data member or variable final. Now I am making a function final. So what will be happening? Let's say I'm making it a final. I'm making a function final. So what change will happen? You will see the B, which is inheriting the class A, which have a final function. If I just want to redefine that function in class B, see, it's now error for me, but earlier I was able to define, but now it's error for me. That means what you got? A final method cannot be overridden in the child class. Okay. A final method cannot be overridden in the child class. Got my point? Guys, speak yes or no. Speak.
Yes, yes, Pratik. So
Yes, yes.
in the case of final variable, Pratik, the value we cannot change throughout the program, okay? And when it's a
Ah,
final function method, then this final method cannot be overridden also even in its child class
exactly. These
because it
all are interview questions. That's why I'm focusing more because mandatorily you'll be getting all these questions. So let's say now I made the variable final. Now I made the what method final. Now let's make the class final. Okay, what will happen? I made class A as final. Even though I remove this add, it will show me an error. Why? Because a final class cannot be inherited. A final
oh,
class cannot be inherited. As I am inheriting that final class, it is throwing me an error. Got my point? Guys,
yes,
Yes.
so see, so what you learned, if a final variable is there, its value can never be changed. If a final method is there, it cannot be overridden. If a final class is there, it cannot be inherited. Very important interview question. Difference between abstract method and inheritance is that an abstract method can have both abstract method and non-abstract method, and class can inherit only one abstract class, and class can inherit more, one or more interface. That is the second difference. And third is the variable which are present in interface at final by default, even though we don't use the keyword final. But in abstract class, if you want, it's just like the normal variable class. If you want to make it final, use the word keyword final, else it's behave like a normal variable. These are the three difference of abstract class and interface. And these are the uses of final keyword. Now we'll learn about access modifier. Okay, up to this much concept, everyone is clear, pretty clear. Be frank, guys. This very important concept. This is
Yeah.
from interview point of view, and I'm explaining it in a much simpler way because normally if you say people see people, they'll tell these are very complex concept, but I'm explaining it in a much simpler way, so all will be able to understand. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now forget all this. Now we'll be learning about access modifier. Okay. Just remove it. I don't require now. Don't save. So class package project default private protected public. Okay, so there are 4 types of access modifier in Java. So what is access modifier? Tell me in normal English, what do you understand by access modifier? Guys, tell me.
Level
Which
of
can be
access.
accessed anywhere.
No, that is not. Okay, anyways, good try. So that access modifier define us or direct us or direct the Java. Yes, this particular variable have access up to this much area, or this particular variable are access to this much area. So it defines the access limit of the variables. Okay, or you can say access limit of the these functions defined in the class. So access modifier you can say is the what permitted area zone for each of the data members and function of the class. So if I don't use any access modifier, let's say for example here in A, I just define int a is equal to 9. If I don't use any of the 4 access modifier here, which I have shown you, either private, protected, public or default, it will be default. If I don't use these 3 keywords, it will be default. By default, it will be default. Okay. Like say for example, here I can have int a, then public, int b, private, int c, protected, int d. Okay, so see, this is default for which I haven't given any access modifier. This is public, this is private, and this is protected. Got my point, guys? So let's, yeah, ask me.
Sir, why it is there any sign against the private variable that you have defined over
This
there?
is warning. This is warning. This is not any error. This is warning. You can ignore the warnings.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Always the one which is present in yellow is warning. The one present in red is error. So you have to concentrate on red, which is the error. You can ignore the warning, no issues. Why warning is shown? You also understand this concept.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, see why warning is caused. You need to understand it. Why warning is caused. Let's say for example, I have created a variable C, but I am not using anywhere in the program. Okay, so the Java will give me a warning. You are blocking my memory, but you are not using elsewhere in the program. So it will just warn you, but you are not wrong. It's okay. Syntactically and everything you are okay. So that will not be an error, but there will be just a warning. This Java is warning you. You are just blocking my memory, but you are not using it. But if you don't use it, I cannot do anything to you. But I am just warning you. Got my point?
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now see. So where I can access these default data members. The default data members can be accessed anywhere inside the package. That means this a variable I can access anywhere inside this package. I cannot access it here or here because it is outside the package in another package. Got my point? It can be
Yes,
accessed
sir.
inside inheritance one package. That means it can be accessed inside V, inside C, inside F, inside interface one, interface two. But I cannot access it inside in D or E or in demo class or looping because default can be accessed only inside the package. Got my point? Default can access only inside the package. Public can be accessed anywhere in the project. That means you can access anywhere inside demo project. You can access here, 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 anywhere you want to access. You can access it inside D, you can access it inside D, you can access it inside demo looping. Anywhere you want to access, you can access public. Okay. And what is private? Private is the keyword which you can access only inside that class. It is also not permitted to access elsewhere in the package. That means I can access C only inheritance one. No, sorry. In class A, I can access this int C only here in class A. I cannot access also inside B or C or F or inheritance 2. Only inside the class I can access it. Got my point? And what is protected? Protected can be accessed anywhere inside the package, just like default, and it can be accessed outside the package only if that is inherited. If I have inherited class A in class D, then only I can access int D. It can be accessed elsewhere in the package without any inheritance. It just behave like the default data member. But if I want to access that particular data member outside the package, I have to inherit it. Got the difference? Important, very important from interview point of view.
Sir, can you repeat the protected once again?
See, protected, just like default data member, I can access anywhere inside the package. I can access it in A, B, C, F, interface 1 or interface 2. But if I want to access that protected outside the package, let's say for example I have to access it inside E, I cannot access it directly. I have to inherit A in E, then only I can access the D. That means protected data members are accessed outside the package only by inheritance. Directly you cannot access it.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so default you can access only inside the package. That means A access area is from here to here. Public you can access anywhere in the project, not package. You can access anywhere in the demo project. You can access throughout here. Anywhere you can access. Private you can access only inside the class. That means only here only you have the access. Even B, C cannot access it. And protected, it can be accessed anywhere inside the package and outside the package only if that is inherited. Got my point? And everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Give some value. Now see, every access modifier, every data members with all the access modifier can be accessed in the class, no restrictions, right? Guys, everyone got cleared, right? I need an
Yes,
answer from,
yes, yes,
from
yes, yes.
everyone. You got cleared what is access modifier, right? This is a very important concept.
Yes.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now see, what happen is I'm able to access all the data members with any access modifier inside the class. There is no restriction. Now come to another class. Now you tell me which one I can access, which one I cannot access. I just removing the extend keyword, no require of it now. Just remove all those data members. B is present in a class inside the same package. Remember it. Now see,
Except
only
C,
C,
you can.
only C it is not permitting. Why? Tell me.
It is a private.
And private,
That's
I
why.
told you, it can be accessed only inside the
Right.
class. It cannot be accessed outside the class, right?
Right.
Okay. So there is one tricky way to access the private. I cannot access directly, but I can access it indirectly using a concept called getter setter. And this getter setter is a concept in Java. Okay. So what I can do is, no, we'll learn about getter setter later on. So you see which I can access, which I cannot access. So this is a private member. That's why I cannot access it in a class inside the same package also. Got my point? But I can access,
sir.
I can access the public, protected, and default in the same package. Now go to the class of a different package. Let's see what is happening here. Let me make the extend A. Now what I'm doing is
Inheriting a class.
inheriting a class. Okay. So okay. So what I'm doing here is I am extending class A here. Means a class of other package I'm extending. Got my point? So if I use all these things, let's see what is happening. Control C. Just make it E. E. Now see, B is accessible. B is accessible. Why? It is a public, so it is accessible anywhere in the project. So I'm able to access it in a class outside the package, right? Then I'm able to access D. Why? Tell me. Because
Because
D
it's
is a
a
protected,
protected class.
and I can access
Member, yeah.
it. I can access it using inheritance, but I cannot access that private one or the default one outside the package. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Clear, guys? Clear? Need a big yes. Everyone clear?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now see, we saw which data members using which access modifier where I can access. This is pretty clear now. This is a very important concept. Remember it. Interview point of question will definitely get a question from here. Today, what concept I'm telling, every concept is an interview question. Now see, now I am not able to access C. So, but I want to access C. But I cannot directly access because it is a private data member. So what I can do, I can take the help of getter setter method. So what is getter setter method? Java itself create for you, or you can create by yourself. Okay, that depend on you. but I use the predefined Java method to make my work easy. So in getter setter method, what I'm doing is I'm creating a function. Okay, I'm creating a function of type public so that it can be accessed anywhere inside the project, and there I am accessing the private data members. Got my point? This private data member can be accessed in the class. There is no issue. Directly these functions are in the class, so they can directly access the private members, data members. But outside it, I can only access the public data members. So what I did is I twisted it, or I can access the private data members indirectly. Got my point? I am accessing the
Yeah.
private data. Yeah.
Sir, then what is the need to have a private member into the class? We can directly use the public over there.
See, these are the concept, or these are the syntax of Java. Okay, it you don't know what comes in your applications. Okay, so if there is any requirement of such things, you can take it in your application, else you don't use it. But these are the concept of Java you need to learn. Okay, there may be some scenario you may not be getting now, but in your application or maybe in your script you need it, but suddenly you are not getting it. There you may use it. Just but knowing the
Mhm.
concept is important, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So here see, you are indirectly accessing using a getter setter function. So getter setter function is a public function, you can directly access it, and as the getter setter function are present in a class, you can access its private data members. Okay, so if anyone asks you in interview, can I access a private data member, you can say no, directly I cannot access, but using getter setter function I can access it. This is another interview question. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, clear guys, everyone about access modifier?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll start our new topic. Okay guys, tell me, okay, just a minute. EP, OBJ. So now tell me guys, what will be the output? Here in A I have 9 and V has inherited A and it has 10, the value of A. So what will be the output?
10.
10, pretty much on 10. Okay. So guys, tell me what is, do you have any idea of constructor and destructor? What is constructor and destructor? Hello.
No, sir, I don't have.
Okay. Okay. So constructor and destructor are see in Java destructor is not allowed. Only constructor is allowed. So you can say constructor is a function which is called when we create an object, and destructor is a function is called when we free a memory or destroy object. In normal English we tell destroy object, but in real time what we do, free the memory which I have assigned to the object. Got my point?
Yeah.
Can you please come again, Pratik?
Yeah. So what is constructor and what is destructor? Constructor is a function which is called, is not a function, you can say is similar to a function which is called when we create an object. Like when I write this particular line, what I'm doing, I'm creating a object or allocating a space to this object in the memory, then constructor is called. Okay. And when at the end of the program, when this particular memory is freed or this object is destroyed, then the destructor is called. But in Java there is no concept of destructor. In Python, in C++ you may have the concept of destructor, but in Java there is no concept of destructor. Only you have the concept of constructor. We'll see. You got it now? Who asked me? What is
Yes,
the
yes,
actual concept?
yes, got
Okay,
it. I
okay.
asked Pratik.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now see, earlier what was happening when I have function overridden, when I've overridden a particular function from parent class to child class, what was happening? My data were getting lost, right? That means the which code I have in the add function of the parent class, that particular add function lines are not executed. Got my point? If I call add function, now what this add will be called, and the lines of code which are executed written here, that code will be executed, but the lines of code which are present in the add function of the parent class, that were not executed, which that were getting lost. Okay, got my point?
Yeah.
So to make those lines executed along with the lines of code which are present in the child class, I can use a keyword super and call that particular function, that add function. That means super keyword is used to call the parent class function. If I have a overridden function with the same name, I can use the keyword super to call the particular function of the same name in the parent class. If I'll write now call add function, you'll see. Obj dot add. Okay, if I'll run this, see here earlier what I was getting, this is add function of class B only I am getting. But now what happened? It is giving me the output of the parent class also, which is present, and it is also giving me the output of child class also. Means the lines of code which are written, they are both are getting executed. Only I have done using the word keyword super. What my point? The use of super keyword. This is also interview question. So in general practice, you can say this function you can student details, use student details. Okay. So here you can say you can also use the same student details here. Oh, sorry. You cannot use space in a variable name. Okay, so in general practice where you can use it in, so you can have a function student details in a student class. So here you can give the things which are common. Let's say for example you can give the school name, the address name that are common to all the student who will be inheriting this parent class, and inside the child class you can give the child specific information. That means the section name, the class name, that will be specific to that child only, but these all information, that is your school name, the school address name, that will be same for all the student in the school. So here I can have this is school XYZ in address ABC. Okay, so what here I can have is I am reading in class 4. Okay, similarly, see, I can extend, say, it can have the same function, student details. Okay, both of their school are same, but he may be reading in class 5. So the information which needs to be changed, I can keep inside the child class function. But the information which is fixed, that is the school name and the school address, I can keep it in the parent class. Got my point? Use of the super keyword. Guys, yes or no?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, yes, Pratik. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a use of super keyword. Okay. Now we'll learn about constructors. So even though I am not defining constructor, Java has its own default constructor. Okay, always remember, see, if I write int a, okay, and I try to print See, it printed 0 for me. So where did it get that 0? I haven't not given any value to a, but still it is printing with 0, right? So from where it got that 0? Tell me. Because Java has a default constructor. Even though you don't give a value to a data member you have declared, it will give a default value using a default constructor. And that default constructor we can override, or we can define, the user can define itself if he want to do the work according to him or her. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll be defining a constructor. See, now see, what is the difference between a method and a constructor? The only difference between a method and constructor is that you don't have a return type in a constructor. In method you had a return type, void or int or string, any return type you had, but in constructor you don't have a return type. The declaration of the constructor is only the class name and parenthesis, and you give the body. Got my point? So now you will see, yeah, anyone?
No, sir.
See, here I have created an object. Once I create an object means it will first call the constructor, means from line 22 the control will go for 4, and from 4 it will see what I written. This is a default constructor, so it will give the line this is a default constructor. Okay, so what I can do, I can also, these all are called argumented constructor. This is called argumented constructor, means we are passing the argument. Okay, default customer and argument constructor. Okay, so let's say for example like create an object. See, obj1 is equal to new c 9. No, sorry, 9. Okay, and I write obj1. See what is happening here. Here I'm creating a no argument, just like the method, just like the function overloading we have did. Here I have created the no argumented constructor, so it will call the no argumented, that is a default constructor. It will call this one. Once I declare this, create the object obj, this particular constructor will be called. And once I create this particular object for C, that is obj1, this particular constructor will be called, because I'm passing here one argument and it is matching one argument constructor here. So now comes the question. I have passed 9. I'm storing here in int a, but the variable name of the class is also int a. So if I'll write a is equal to a, it will get confused. So which a I am referring? This class a or this temporary a which I have created for this block? I've told in the scope of the variable like which block existed between which area. So this int a exists between 8 to 11, but this a exists for the whole class. Okay, so if I'll write a is equal to a, it will get confused like which a I am assigning to which a, this a or this a, because in this area this a is accessible, this a is also accessible. So it will be an error. Which a I am trying to access for what? So to access the a of the class, I can do what is this dot a. So when I am using a keyword this, that means this dot a means the a of the class, and this a means this is normal a. That's why it is this a which I have created here. Got my point? The use of this keyword. This keyword is used to access the data member of that particular class. Guys, understood?
Yes, Pratik.
So can repeat once again.
What you don't understood, tell me. Hello?
Yeah, sir. You said that this keyword. I couldn't understand the thing that you said about this keyword.
See, you first tell me, you have remembered I have told you the scope of the variable, where a variable exists in which range? Remember it? See, I'm telling it again. Okay, if you have forgot it. So if I define a variable, let's say for example, this int a is defined where? It is defined inside the class. That means this int a, if I'll write above, you will understand. Control X, Control V. I've defined this int a here. That means its nearest curly braces is what? This one. That means it will survive from this curly brace to the end of this curly brace, that is here. That means it will survive the whole class. I can access it anywhere in the inside here. Here also I can access that a, here, everyone I can access the a. But here this int a, this I have declared here. Its nearest curly braces is what? This one. So it is accessible only inside this area from 10 to 13. Outside that, this A will not be recognized, but this A will be recognized throughout the class. So now in this particular area, I am able, this A is recognized, this A is recognized. But if I'll write A is equal to A, so the what Java will understand which A I am assigning to which A. It will assign this A to itself only. Okay, it
Yeah,
will
right.
assign this A to itself only. But to make it differentiate the class A and the temporary A which I have declared, I will use the keyword this dot A. When I write this dot A, that means it is the A of this class, means this one. And this A is the temporary A which I have declared here. Got my
Okay.
point? Use of this keyword.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, here you will see I have called it two argumented constructors. So this will call here because it matches here. See here, I have not used this dot a because there is no conflict. If I write a means it will understand this a only. Here there is conflict. So to differentiate it, I used this keyword to make it understand. Yes, this a is the a of class. But here I'm directly a is equal to b. It will assign here only. But there is no conflict. So directly I can assign a is equal to b. I did not to use this keyword. This keyword will only be used when there is a conflict with the same name. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you tell me, if I will run this program, what will be my output? Anyone try? Anyone try? Hello.
Yes, sir. Just wanted to see once again.
Hmm. It's pretty simple. See, for obj.a means for this one, as I have assigned nothing here, so it will be printing me 0. But for obj.1.a, I'm assigning 9 na. This dot a is equal to a. That means I'm assigning 9 here. So 9 will be printed. Obj2.a, I have passed 3 and 4, 3 and 4, but b is getting assigned. That means a is assigned 3. So 3 will be printed. Got it? Guys,
Yes, yes.
so
Yes,
till
Pratik.
there,
Yeah.
yeah, tell me why 4 got printed. You are
Why
asking me
4
that
is
one. Tell me, you tell me why 4 got printed. Tell me. Just a common sense, just a common sense. See what happened here. First execution started from main. Okay, it came here. C object is equal to new C. So it went where? It went to line 5. So it printed this is default constructor. It got printed this is default constructor. Okay, its work is over. Now here it came to C obj new C9. So it went where? It went to 9. So this dot a. So it did the assignment for obj1.a to 9. Now came this line. So from here 23 the execution went to 14. In B I have 3, in C I have 4. So A is equal to B means in A it assigned 3, but there is a line sysO.out.println, and that means 4 it got printed here.
Yeah.
And after that which are assigned to what it got printed. In first case I haven't assigned anything, so 0 got printed. Second case I've assigned 9, so 9 got printed. In third case I've assigned 3, so 3 got printed. Clear?
Mhm.
Guys, clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, 4 should come after 0, right? Why come after this is a default constructor?
How it will come after 0? In line 23 only, before printing anything in the main, in line 23 only, it will go the 23 line go control will go to 14, right? Right?
Right.
So here what I'm doing in lines of code, a is equal to b, I'm assigning the value of a to b, and then only I
Okay,
have a
okay.
print statement. Na?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have the print statement.
Then line number 9 got printed on line number 25. That's why it first printed 4, then 0. Yeah, okay. The value of
Yeah.
A, which is
Yeah.
0, it got printed over line number 25.
24, yeah, line number 24 it got printed after the constructor is executed.
Yeah.
Guys, clear?
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah,
I can
Yes,
say
Pratik.
sir.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, everyone cleared? I'm just removing all this code. Everyone cleared, right? No doubt?
Yeah, no, sir.
Okay, thank you. if I'll run this particular code, so what will happen? Tell me. Anyone, tell me. Nothing will happen. Nah, nothing is written.
It will.
No result. I've just created an object. I've done nothing. So what will happen? Nothing will be happen. Okay, but see. See, even though I haven't called this particular method, it is getting executed. Just comment this line and execute it. No output. So what you saw? Finalize is a predefined method present in the object class. See, when I'm writing class C, that means it is having a super class object. Any class you define in Java, it what you can say, it automatically inherit the object class. Okay, it automatically inherit the object class. That's why I told in theory you will say multiple inheritance is not what is not accepted in Java, but in real time multiple inheritance occurs, because here I am extending A and class C has also extend object class. You'll see this finalize, this override. See, override finalize in object class. That means the object class is present. Okay, object class is present which C what inherits. That's why it is able to override finalize method which is present in the object class. Else how it will override? Because it is inheriting object class, that only it was able to inherit, sorry, it is able to override the function finalize na. So here what you saw, it has inherited A, it has also inherited object which is inherited by default. You did not use any extend keyword or object. Any Java class which you create inherits object class by default. So what you saw here, it has inherited object and you are inheriting A. That means it has inherited two classes. So if I is inheriting two classes, that means it is multiple inheritance only, right? But in normalize we are
Yes.
seeing that it is, sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It is inheriting that. Yeah.
Yeah, so in normal I was seeing that it is inheriting one class, but in backend what you saw, it has inherited object class, and here we are making it inherit A class. That means it is inheriting two class, and if it is inheriting two class, that means it is multiple inheritance, right? It is, if it is inheriting the object class, I am able to override this finalize class which is present in object. I overrided it finalize object. Sorry, finalize function which is present in the object class. As I have overridden it, so it is calling it in my function. Sorry, in my class when I'm accessing it. As you know, the nearest function will be called. Now see, so you got it. In real time, multiple inheritance is being accepted by Java. I showed you one proof, guys.
Yes, sir.
You got it right. This is the interviewer question. They may ask you, right? But in pen and paper and in everywhere in theory, you'll see that multiple inheritance is not accessible, not permitted in Java. But here only I saw you. It is inheriting object class by default, and I am making it inherit a class. And as it is inheriting more than one class, so that is multiple inheritance. Now, this is the interview question. This is the interview question. This people who know may ask you, people who don't know may not ask you. Okay. Apart from that, this is the interview question also. What is the use of finalize keyword? This, what is the use of this finalized method? Finalize method is called before a object is destroyed. Okay. Finalize is a function which is present in the object class, and it has its own function it doesn't print anything in the console, it does it work. But as I have overridden it, it will perform the specific text which I am giving it inside it, which I am giving it. Okay, writing the lines of code inside it. So what I did, I just printed one line here. So you will see system.gc means it is collecting the garbage collector function. So this is again a system is again a, you will see class. See here, C is extending system class, object class, a class. How many class it is extending? So I'm collecting the garbage collector, and here I'm giving obj is equal to null. That means the memory which I am assigning in line 12 while creating the object, I am just delocating it. I'm delocating or releasing the memory. That means I'm destroying the object in normal English, I'll say. So once I destroy this object, this finalize method is called. Earlier it was called by default. Here I am defining it, so it will call my method which I have defined. And system.garbage collector, once the object is destroyed and I call system.garbage collector, first finalize will be called, then only system.garbage collector will be called. Means inside this system.garbage collector only this finalize method is called. So if I'll run this, you will see it will get automatically executed even though I haven't called this finalize method. See, it is getting executed, but if I will just comment it out, that means I'll not destroy the object and keep it is in the memory, it will not be called. See, it is not called. So what you got? Yeah, ask.
Sir, is there any relation between the finalize and the garbage collector? If you do not
Yes,
use the
yes,
finalize over
yes.
here, okay.
No. Garbage collector checks if all the objects which have created are freed or released or destroyed, whatever you may call, then only it calls the finalize object, finalize method. If that object is not cleared, it's still present in the memory, finalize is not called by the garbage collector. Got my point?
Okay. Yeah.
When I make it null, then only the finalize function is called. If I will commit it, it will not be called. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a interview question. I'm giving you one more interview question. Okay. Remember it. Now.
Okay.
Okay. Now. Everyone understood this concept? Guys, yes, no,
Yes,
tell
sir.
me. Okay.
Yes, yes.
This is another interview question. What is static block? What is non-static block? And the order of execution. Okay. See, this is the constructor. You know, this is a non-static block. That means just I have the body. I don't have any method signature or anything. Just I have a body. So this is called non-static block in Java. Only I have a curly braces and inside that I have lines of code. That is non-static block. And I have a block which have static keyword. So this is a static block. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
So I'm created a constructor, I created a non-static block, I created a static block, and inside the main I'm just creating an object. Let's see the sequence of execution of the static, non-static and constructor block. And this is a very important interview question. See, first what got executed? I am static block. That means before calling the constructor, it have called the static block, then non-static block, then constructor got executed. Okay, so once the control goes to constructor, it will check if there is static or non-static block in the program. And if there is static or non-static block, then it will first execute the static block, then it will execute the non-static block, then it will execute itself. Got my point? Guys?
Sir, if there is no constructor, then also we can use static and non-static block.
Just remove it. Run it. If there is, see, your statement is wrong. If there is no constructor, that is never possible. Even if though I don't define any constructor in my program, there is a default constructor defined by Java,
Yeah.
which is called. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
that
sir. Yes, sir.
question, the statement is wrong.
Mm-hmm,
See,
mm-hmm.
it got executed because there is always a constructor. Here I am defining by myself that I am seeing my own type of constructor. But in backend, Java has
Yeah.
always its own constructor. Even if you don't define, it has its own constructor. Okay. So there is constructor
Yeah, got
always.
it.
Guys, clear? Yes, no, please tell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a very important interview question I'm telling you. Today, what every concept what I told is a interview question.